them. So, Vietnam B versus RoR and Modri. RoR with Kamigawa and Ganji, longtime team game players, and Modri joining them for the Monks. Surprisingly, there is no Natsukotra selected for RoR and Modri. That was their favorite map. Modri was crazy good with the Monks, so I'm a little bit surprised that that is not going to be here for us. Today will be Hallis co-casting a high-level British player, as I said, and before we actually jump into the evaluation of the draft with Hallis, let's take a look at these teams.
The Rulers of Rome team is a historical clan who's been active at the high level for many years. Signing up for 2 pools 2 with Ganji, Kamigawa, and a new addition in Modri, the team managed to qualify for the main event. Kamigawa and Ganji are longtime teammates who have played together in multiple A-tier events over the past few years, often with good results, yet falling short against the teams at the very top. They have a well-established team dynamic and the skills to be successful on all maps. With Modri, a closed map specialist, they add a wildcard to their roster. One of only 2 teams in the main event with 3 players, Rulers of Rome's main strength is how versatile they are. They may, however, lack the experience and mechanical skills required to challenge the very best teams. Rulers of Rome play in Group B, where the competition may seem more open than in other groups. They will, however, be the underdogs and need excellent performances if they want to make the quarterfinals. Taking advantage of their exceptional talent pool, Vietnam is the only country to field 2 national teams in the main event of 2 pools 2. Already playing as Vietnam B during the World Cup, Bad Boy and Song Song team up again to make their first appearance in the 2 pool series. Bad Boy and Song Song are excellent meta players with distinct roles. With his speed and great army control, Bad Boy is usually playing with Archer Civilizations, while Song Song supports him with Cavalry. Known for his ability to play unorthodox strategies, Song Song can also deviate from the meta and get value from the second pool of civilizations. Vietnam Legends B is an experienced team, but they could be too predictable. If they want to win the tournament, they need to come up with strategies to surprise the stronger duos. Playing in Group B, Bad Boy and Song Song will not be the favourites, but they have the skills and experience to create an upset. With good preparation, they could make it through to the quarterfinals.
Alright, so after the intro of the teams, it is time to join up with Hallis and see what he thinks about the draft. Alright, hello there.
Hello.
Nice to see you around.
Yeah.
How are you feeling, man?
Yeah, I'm excited, man. Always fun to see my clan in action. So I'll try and keep the bias out of it, though. Don't worry.
Yeah, like, it's actually very, very good that you're here for us today, because you can get a little bit of an insight to the thinking process whatsoever of the players. Indeed, you are a member of RoR as well.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, what are your thoughts of the series? Any favorites beforehand, or think it's pretty even?
I think it's fairly even overall. So if you think about it, I think RoR is a little bit better when it comes to just team games alone and like standard settings, but Bad Boy and Song Song are also fairly advanced team game players, so it's hard to say. I would say on standard maps I favor RoR, because the Vietnamese team just likes to play less conventional maps or focus a bit more on nomads, so to say, whereas Ganji, Kamigawa, and Modri focus more on like general maps like Arabia, Arena in the case of Modri. So
yes, yeah. Well, one thing I would say that I really like about RoR, and I don't know if you feel the same, is that with Modri, they are going to have a really good tactician in these kind of, I don't want to call clown maps, but you know, the kind of more closed, kind of, you know, maps like Socotra and Forest Pond, where like you kind of need that tactical edge, whereas I don't know if VNS will really have that same experience.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. We can even see that they went for Team Acropolis and Eruption as their home map, so they went for some super standard maps, so to say, with Team Acropolis being a 2v2 World Cup map as well, and Eruption is basically a certain version of Gold Rush, so two very standard maps on their side, whereas RoR and Moji go for the more specialized maps instead, it seems. What do you think about the civilizations, though?
I think the civilizations shows you, for at least for ROR, how much confidence they've placed in Modri because they first picked Aztecs, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be for not Socotra, right? But I think in general, I'm kind of the draft. I don't know. It kind of depends what maps what civs they're saving for what maps, right? Like I think Italians are very good on Forest Pond, so it's interesting that they've been second picked. Like I just think I don't know about you, but it's kind of weird for me to see Spanish first picked in a draft. I'm not really sure where they're going to use that, you know?
Yeah, that is definitely an interesting question because, like, I can see it working for a map like Forest Pond or Team Acropolis, but as you said, it's not like it's your number one pick by any means. It kind of feels or reminds me a little bit to like VV picking civs in 1v1s where it's like, I love Spanish and I will pick Spanish no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you just look at some of the later picks, like we've got Franks and Chinese at the end. Or is that, sorry, am I reading that wrong? Is that, let me go back to the actual draft. Oh no, sorry, no, I take it back. Sorry, I was misreading from your stream. They actually picked Franks first and then Chinese.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah.
Although,
yeah, very standard civs and very standard maps. Yeah.
Even then, Spanish being drafted in the first pool is something that's a little bit surprising considering the map pack. But I guess we'll have to see if. Or what that is going to be used. Vikings global ban is also interesting. I did not necessarily expect it with this map pool.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I mean, maybe they just think Vikings is strong, but I think there are just better civs when you only have one civ to rely on, right? Like, and no like traditional water maps. I'm not really sure. I mean, Britain's makes sense. I don't know about you, but are you surprised that Tatars haven't been picked here?
Yeah, I'm definitely surprised. It seems like, what I could actually think about is that they don't really like the transition from crossbow to cav archer on eruption. But you're absolutely right. It's surprising that Tatars is just a no-show completely, considering that we have maps like Team Acropolis or Eruption. The other two maps are obviously not great. I think that like Forest Pond is limited elevation, not Socotra as well. So still, Tatars could be an interesting civ to play around with. Anyways, I am at 10 seconds, so if you are, if you jump into the first game, just let me know when you're there and we can start with the first game.
Yep. Okay, I'm just loading and it's just D being D.
Yeah, no worries. We all know how D works, or doesn't work in some instances.
Okay, yes, I'm at 10 seconds, yeah.
Alright, let's do a countdown then with 3, 2, 1, let's go!
Yep.
So, welcome everybody to the first elimination match of 2 pools 2. The loser is out of this one. We'll have RoR, Ganji playing Mayans in blue on the south. We will have Burgundians for Kamigawa in green on the left. Their opponents will be Song Song and Franks in yellow, and Incas for Bad Boy in red. With me is Hallis. What do you think about these civilizations here?
Okay, this is very interesting because I know that Vietnam are not your traditional, Arabia meta players, at least these two. And I'm really interested to see if the Inca player will do that Inca Tower Rush. I think if you're looking like more standard, I think I probably prefer Ganji and Kami civs, just because like I think Mines is a better archer civ, and maybe Burgundians is quite a strong paladin civ. But Incas are very versatile. Do you think we will see a tower rush from Bad Boy?
It's hard to say, because I feel like if you do a tower rush with Bad Boy as he's coming for the scout for some early laming, I feel like if you do that, you cannot try to replicate what Yo and Lix do. So you have one player that plays very chaotic, and then the other one will just boom into like late game and just overrun everything with cavalry. But Incas are very underrated as an archer civ. In fact, they're better in 2v2 than Aztecs are, for example, because they do have Thumb Ring. They have a fairly decent eco as well. They're not amazing as an archer civ, but it's not just a one-trick pony civ towards tower rushes by any means.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm very interested to see how they would play this. I know as a 2v2 player myself, I remember in 2v2 World Cup, I think against China B, I know that Tim and CO actually picked Inca Frank against us, and they did go for Tower Rush Scouts, and that's kind of the play. So like your ideal like kind of what you do is the Inca player would go forward with towers, keep one of the flanks open, and then the other guy would send the flank scouts and do a lot of damage. So if they do that, that's expect to see Song Song come with some aggressive scouts. Yeah, I mean, if you're ROR here, are you gonna play a little bit differently when you see Incas? What do you think?
Yes, I would say, especially with Mayans, you're up against your opponent's archers, as we have a lame coming in from Bad Boy. So I feel like I would consider a possible man-at-arms opening, because that actually could negate the effects of a potential Villager Rush, because I think if Incas go for Tower Rush, they come with Villagers and not like a man-at-arms Towers play.
Yes, yeah. I think I'm not sure about men at arms against villagers. I think it definitely could work with your pocket coming with scouts, but I think from ladder, I think going man at arms is really bad. But maybe you're not going to see the same build necessarily. So like, I guess it'll be really interesting to see how they do, like what the actual players' thoughts are on this, because we'll see with their opening, right, whether or not they are going to go for something like men at arms.
Absolutely. And now, the Ego Civ is always better for laming, because you can just heal up your Ego inside your town center, and it seems like Bad Boy is going to be successful with that lame. A massive blow to Ganji's early economy, who seems to be going for a premium rush to punish his opponent and also steals 2 sheep from the opponent overall.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Bad Boy has also put a barracks down as well, so both players are going for the drush. So it's probably not Villager Rush then. We can probably rule that out already, because you wouldn't be building the barracks this early. So it looks like we're just going to kind of see a standard game. Maybe. At least more standard. Not a Villager Rush, at least.
I would think so as well. With 4 on wood for Bad Boy, that seems a bit excessive for a Villager Rush. It is still very possible, but I would also think that they would just play this one standard. But that's always a thing to think about with Incas. There is always that, scare factor about the Villager Rush possibility, and sometimes the most surprising thing for Incas is that if they just play standard, as we have a very exposed Villager from Bad Boy here on the walls.
Yeah, that's a really huge pickup actually for... is he gonna get it? Yeah, it looks like he will get it.
Yeah, that should be an easy will pick here. Bad Boy tried to squeeze in Loom, but that was a little too late. Very, very unlucky over there for Bad Boy, but also...
Yeah. Sorry, I think it was just a little bit greedy, yeah. Sorry, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I also think that it's very unlucky that he was late with the Loom for there, but it's also sort of a mistake, because that's quite far away from the TC, and oftentimes you get Loom earlier, just to make sure you don't lose Villagers like that. And it looks like we will have the Drush going towards Kamigawa, who has a fairly defendable base. That's actually a very, very nice base. Maybe the berries are a little bit off, but the rest of them seems very, very good. And
yeah, that's actually a really nice decision. I don't know what you think, but I think I don't know if Bad Boy knew that Ganji would react with his own drush, but Ganji's only drush to defend his base, and if you look, he's not actually going forward. So this drush will actually do much more damage to someone who doesn't expect it than it will to Ganji. So I think that's a really intelligent play from Bad Boy.
Yeah, that's a very, very good play overall. And here come the militias with some nice quick walls from Kamigawa.
Oh.
That was a very, very nice quick wall. And I think I just jinxed him because the other 3 villagers will be a little bit more exposed. Still, he's gonna be feudal, so he's gonna get the extra attack on that scout, which will help quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. I think you are right with Incas though. I think people forget how good they actually are just as a normal civ. Like they have all the upgrades on their archers, and they have quite a nice, late game. They've got Hallis and Cambiux, all sorts of options. Maybe not like top tier, but you can always play the civ normally. And it looks like Bad Boy will just be playing them that way.
Nice attempt here to team up the Scout of Song Song and Bad Boy's Drush, try and get a Villager pick, but that won't happen. So, given the circumstances, Kamigawa's defense here was extremely good, to be honest, and it looks like Ganji will just move in with his own Drush to cancel this.
Yeah, that was excellent defensive play actually. Fair play to both teams. They all made good decisions. Great defense from Kamigawa, and we're looking at a pretty even game.
Yeah, this is a very, very even game. It's worth noting that Kamigawa already got double bit-axe while he was going up, helps a little bit. He went for a 21 pop scouts build. I'm actually curious about your opinion with Burgundians. Do you think it's better to go like a 21 pop scouts and go for like an earlier double bit-axe? Or try to still squeeze out a 20 pop feudal for just faster scouts?
I think if you're going to do bit-axe, then you do want to go 21 pop, because otherwise you're going to be in a bit of a pinch economically. I just think it's kind of one of the weaknesses with the Civ, really. Like, I don't think getting Bidax like 30 seconds earlier is that big of a deal, honestly. But yeah, honestly, I don't think there's much difference. But if you are going to go for Bidax, then I do think you need delay of feudalage time.
Yeah, that's completely understandable. We apparently have a Drosh FC now from Ganji, so now that he knows that his opponent is going for no Vulture Rush, he ends up going for the Drosh FC, and this may go completely unpunished, because it seems like the archers from Bad Boy are going towards Kamigawa.
Yeah, what do you think? I mean, this could work out well, but also, if you look at Bad Boy, he's actually sending his army straight to Kamigawa. I think he knows that Kamigawa is a little bit open. And so Kamigawa is going to have to deal with Frank scouts plus Archer Spear aggression. And he's not walled.
Yeah, like, he's trying to wall himself up, and I feel like the grand plan is that we just wall ourselves up here real quick before the archers from Bad Boy arrive. And, like, there's a lot of buffer space in Kamigawa's base to wall behind, so he should have no trouble defending his base once the walls are up, but I'm not so sure.
I don't think they're going to go up, honestly. I mean, this is the trade-off when you go fast castle. You leave your other players so exposed. I mean, if we look at Kamigawa now, he can't wall that choke point between his gold. So how does he really defend against the archers?
Yeah, that is the massive, massive problem there for him. And, like, if he was walled, then Kamigawa or Ganji's Drosh FC would be extremely good, but I mean, Ganji is still 3 minutes away from doing anything combat-wise, and I'm not sure Kamigawa will survive for 3 minutes.
I mean, if you already look at the damage done there, I mean, this is going to be 2 dead villagers on that woodline. Those aren't surviving. And he can't take gold, he can't take berries. I mean, the only thing, Ganji will have to do a lot of return damage when he gets cast stage. You have to use that tech bonus to his advantage. I don't know about you, but do you think they play a little bit too greedily, considering how aggressive the Vietnamese players are?
I feel like they didn't play greedily. It's more like, you know, they misjudged their ability to finish the walls in time. Maybe if the Drosh didn't hit Kamigawa that hard, it could have been the case. Because Kamigawa was putting a lot of effort into walling, and if he finished those walls, he would have been all good. But without this, indeed, it feels a little bit ambitious to go for the Drosh FC. Still, it's going to be double range archers from Ganji, and he's going up to castle. So I think given the circumstances, Kamigawa defended quite well. He lost 2 villagers, and he also had 40 seconds DC idle time, which is not ideal, but I think 2 villagers is something that Ganji will be able to compensate for with crossbows early on.
Yeah, I agree. I actually agree, because considering he's got Franks, which are just much better in that early feudal age anyway, and he's got the aggression from Bad Boy, so only losing 2 villagers is quite nice. But then again, he's kind of stuck in feudal age right now, right? He's gonna have to sell resources to get up. Like, his resources aren't looking that great. But you know, I don't know. I mean, as Dave says, right? I mean, mines are such a strong civ, right? I mean, if he can get those crossbows to Bad Boy's base and do damage, then the game might be even. But right now, it's looking quite rough for Kamigawa.
Yeah, it's looking quite rough for Kamigawa. He could technically move out to one of those gold mines north of his base, but I think he just doesn't want to take the risk. But this is a nice move overall, and maybe a mistake from the Vietnamese team. They will allow Kamigawa to wall up his gold mine.
Yeah, that is a mistake, actually. I would have thought they would have been sending that army of archers, you know, just kind of camp the gold in some of the farms close to it. But looks like they went to the berries, and now he can take gold again. But the important thing is, if you see on the right-hand side, is these archers and how much damage they can do.
Yeah, exactly. That's gonna be quite a lot of archers with Botkin and Crossbowmen in soon, and they can hit that gold mine directly. The big thing is that Song Song is almost up to castle as well, and just a couple of knights can slow that push down quite considerably.
Yeah, you're actually precisely right. I mean, how does Ganji deal with the knights, right? I mean, he doesn't have the numbers. I guess he's forcing a tower. I mean, is this enough damage, do you think?
I don't think so. I think the damage will be caused when you sneak past that tower close to the wood line and go for the farms. That could be something to consider, because I think you can just run past that tower. Indeed, that's what he's doing. Still, Kamigawa's gonna get beaten to Castle Age quite hard, and the early knights could be very troublesome for Ganji to deal with.
Yeah, and Song Song went for +2 straight away, so any knights come in and those crossbows are dead. I'm not sure it's the right decision to jump with the scouts though. Or maybe it was.
He's gonna have +2
Yeah.
defense, and I feel like
Yeah.
trading
No.
scouts to crossbows is always a reasonable thing to do, and Bad Boy and Song
Yeah,
Song
definitely. Yeah.
mock
Yeah, I'm
that army
surprised
up.
he got that much damage. Yeah. Okay, so in this position now, I mean, this has to be really rough for RoR, right? I mean, if you just look at Kamigawa's economy, he's still got those archers in his base. Genji is booming a little bit, but I mean, Bad Boy is not that far behind to Castle Age either. Like, how do you come back if you are RoR in this position?
This is really tough for them. I feel like one value that Gunchi is gonna get here is that he will pick off a couple of archers from the opponent, so the archer numbers won't be that great for Bad Boy. But how do you defend against those knights? That's going to be troublesome.
I think yeah, you hit the nail on the head. How does Genji win these fights alone? Because Kamigawa is not that close to getting a decent amount of knights, right? He's on the way to Castle Age, so he will be able to get them soon. But there's a lot of +2 knights, and there's a lot of potential damage that can be done to Kamigawa right now.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing to consider is that the Burgundian early knights will actually be quite bad. So Burgundians have to get Cavalier to have knights that are just comparable to the opponent's knights. Like, lack of bloodlines, especially against Franks that get that basically for free, or for the knights at least.
Yeah.
I feel like the biggest trick with Burgundians is that you need to squeeze that Cavalier upgrade in, and that takes forever to research.
Yeah, I completely agree. Again, it's one of the problems with the Civ is that they're just so slow. Like, you kind of need 3 stables because the Cavalier upgrades take so long. So you need the 3 stables to just even match knight numbers. And then when you get Cavalier, it's quite nice. It's quite nice to get the extra 2 attack. But it's not, huge. Yeah, this is the problem with 2v2s, right? If you let this, like, if you let the game snowball militarily, it gets so difficult for one player because you just have to constantly defend against raids like this.
Yeah, exactly. That's very, very rough for Kamigawa. And now he is completely out of gold. So, like, his only shot is indeed to move out to another gold mine. I like that Gunji is keeping that elo close to that gold to see if there's enemies around.
Well, that's actually a really good point. Yeah, this is looking really tough. I mean, yeah, Kamigawa has to take another gold. Like, his knight numbers are pretty low. He doesn't have +2, and obviously, like you said, they don't have bloodlines. There is a lot of archers or crossbows from Genji though.
Yeah, and you have to consider that he's gonna be free TCs, and Mayan's free TCs, especially how cheap their army is, they are very possible to beat everybody to Imperial. And especially if you consider that those crossbows could get cleaned up. And now the Knights of Song Song are sort of trapped. So suddenly you could take a good fight here if you're RoR. Eco for Vietnam is slightly better with free TCs already for Song Song though.
Yeah, definitely. Again, I'm just struggling to see how they stop the military snowball. But I think, honestly, Kamigawa has done a great job of relocating his economy. And as you said, that Genji's done a great job of booming. So, like, it's very clear if you look at the economies that the Vietnamese players are very aggressive. They're both on 2 TCs. Oh, okay, 3 TCs now for Song Song, but only 2 for Bad Boy and Ballistics. So they're clearly, looking for this economic damage.
And look at Bad Boy, he's gonna send a couple of archers to the wood line of Gunji. We'll see how fast he reacts, because that could be a lot of dead villagers with ballistics in.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that's -3 or 4, I believe. Very nice find over there from our red player. And I think the knight numbers are what is really scary for our war. It's 8 knights with only +1 defense and no bloodlines, versus 20 knights with +2 defense and bloodlines.
Yeah, it's just a huge difference, and it's so hard to take fights alone as an archer player. You just one like bad engagement, and all your army gets surrounded by the knights, right?
And Ballistics just now coming in for Gunji. He went for the eco-heavy approach, but that might be delayed by some other crossbows while he's taking the fight on the north.
Yeah, I don't know what you think, but it definitely feels like this game is kind of some contrasting styles, right? Like, we see kind of Genji like more gearing towards an economic approach, and I guess Kami as well, but obviously he's been under so much pressure. Whereas Vietnam has very much been focused on, doing kind of crushing economic damage, being very aggressive.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure if Gunji, if this was the original plan for Gunji, or he just reacted to the fact that his teammate lost so much and he felt like, okay, I have to have a great eco, otherwise we have no chance.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I think it may have been a reaction like, hey, if we want to come back into this game, like, I need to kind of take the team on my shoulders and carry the game, right?
So the knight numbers are still better, although the crossbow numbers aren't really there for Bad Boy. The eco is now much better for Vietnam. They have 20 villagers lead overall, but Mayans having a decent blob of crossbows is always scary, especially if they can beat you to Imperial, which could happen with a free TC Mayan eco.
Yeah, definitely. I think the problem is though that if you look at Song Song's economy, he's the one leading right now, and if you get Frank to imp with like Cavalier and Paladin, then it kind of mitigates the Mayan Arbusts, right? Like I think it's really important in these games to have your Cav player do well. I think that's why we saw Lix and Yo have such a nice style, because if you can get your Cav player to snowball the eco numbers, then like it kind of translates to a lot of mobility, a lot of raiding. Like you can kind of wipe the Arblast player as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And also like in terms of numbers, a Cavalier or even a Knight is much more valuable as an individual unit than an Archer is. So, at the end of the day, the Cavalry player is more important, but here's a counterattack from Gunji and Kamigawa, and now that's going to be Cavalier, even though +2 defense will be missing. But
yeah, I mean, maybe, do you think they can snowball the game back with this? I mean, it feels kind of weird because, honestly, like, Vietnam should be a little bit more ahead. But RoR did a great job of kind of mitigating the damage, and now they've got a really nice army. And if they do a lot of damage here, maybe they can swing the game back.
I feel like the main point was that Bad Boy pretty much stopped making army. He went for a free TC boom, and he went down to something like 15 crossbows. And that's something very, very dangerous here, especially +2 defense and Cavalier almost in for Kamigawa and Gunji.
This is going to be a huge fight. This will probably determine the game.
Exactly, Hill is on the side of our blue player, but he's got no defense upgrades, and Cavalier and +2 isn't in yet. Oh, that's over.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That feels very much over.
Yeah, that was their chance, yeah. If you just look at poor Kami's economy, it's not looking too hot.
Yeah, like they're down to 3 Cavalier, and they will try their best, but now they are massively outnumbered. And if you look at the resources for Bad Boy, he's getting close to Imperial with a forward siege workshop already. I feel like if the Cavalier upgrades kick in, like Cavalier and +2 defense, they could have had a chance. But without that, they just got absolutely annihilated, and the Frankish player is also getting close to Imperial.
Yeah, I think at this point, with Kami being so far behind, I mean, kind of Ganji's on the same level economically as Song Song and Bad Boy. But yeah, just having, like I said before, having your Cavalier player like this far behind, it just makes it so difficult. Like if you're fighting Knights against Cavalier Arbalester, it's just, you have no hope. It's all about that imp timing, really.
Yeah, in fact, Bad Boy is gonna have the same imp timing as Ganji, and even though Mayans obviously have cheaper archers, Incas in this situation sort of feels like a budget Mayans.
Yeah. I think Incas are just a very standard civ, right? Just they get Arblaster with full upgrades, and that's about it, and cheap castles, I guess.
And that's a nice cleanup over there from RoR, but there is Knights soon overrunning the food line of Ganji, and this would just spiral out of control. The eco for Vietnam is just way better, not in terms of, or not just in terms of villagers, also in terms of upgrades. And Franks in early Imperial, especially if they grab Chivalry, then they should have no trouble finishing off the game. There is some counter rates from Kamigawa, like he's trying his best to pump out some Cavalier, but I'm not sure if this is gonna be enough.
Yeah, at this point it's looking kind of like they're holding on, but they kind of know at this point that the game is probably over. Even the Vil counts now is quite low for the for both RoR players. So where do you think this game went wrong then? Just that early feud lage really?
I think yes. Like that was so much damage, and delaying or being delayed to cast lage hurts so much, especially against Franks, because you really need those knight numbers on the field. I feel like I'm not against Gunji's decision on Drush FC, it's more about the fact that Drush FC, when your teammate wasn't fully evolved, ended up being a bad move.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it was just a communication thing, honestly. I think I personally wouldn't like doing Drush Fast Castle against Vietnam just because they are so aggressive. But like you said, I don't think it's necessarily a mistake. It's just that the fact that, you know, Ganji probably needed to say, you need to be walled like completely, otherwise, you know, you could be under a lot of pressure. Yeah. We also have to give props to the Vietnamese team as well, because the only thing that Bad Boy thought about was, I'm going to go and attack Kamigawa. They knew exactly what they were doing, exactly where to get the damage. And like to be able to like understand that is really kind of impressive decision making, because he could, like another player would have sent their archers to Genji and done nothing, whereas they actually managed to get critical damage to give them a lasting advantage.
Absolutely. So at this point, we have a defensive castle up for Song Song to stop the aggression on the left side, and a very aggressive castle from Bad Boy, and with all the villagers from Genji cleaned up, it looks like Vietnam will take game number 1.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm out of just curiosity, if you are Genji and Kamigawa, do you still believe in the game, or do you just want to feel like, you want to use this as a little bit of a warm-up stage? Because I'm fairly certain that they know they lost.
Yeah. I think at this point you definitely know the game's over. You're just kind of playing just for the sake of it. I think probably just talking about maybe strats they're doing, or just warming up, or honestly I can't really see where they think they're gonna come back in this game.
Yeah, it would be a massive throw from Vietnam. They have a 40 villagers lead, both players in Imperial, and Bad Boy is stacking into Elite Skirm, which clearly shows that they know that all they have to deal with is the Arbalasts, and the Cavalier will just be evenly matched by Song Song's cavalry.
I have no idea. I don't like the Elite Scum though. That's very odd to me. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Maybe he's running out of gold. Nope, not running out of gold. Because you still have some Cavalier from Kamigawa, right? He's still building units. Cavalier will do fine against Skirms. Which is kind of a bit of an odd one. But yeah, I don't think in the grand scheme of things that really matters.
Yeah, I feel like when you see 45 Cavalier with +4/+4 coming your way, and I feel like Song Song just waiting for the resource to pile up for Paladin, the game is over.
Yeah, exactly. I'm kind of surprised that Song Song couldn't afford Paladin, but okay, GG scored.
Well played by Vietnam, and it really shows that just one bad situation in Feudal Age can spiral out of control so much in this case. So really, if the wars were up for Kamigawa, this would have been a completely different game, and I would have favored RoR, but with those wars not being finished in time, and really Song Song and Bad Boy exploited that very, very nicely.
Yeah, exactly. Brilliant team synergy from Vietnam, and they managed to punish a little bit of greed, a little bit of greed and a little bit of miscommunication from the RoR team, I think.
Yeah, indeed. A nice lane, by the way, from Bad Boy. We have to consider that as well. So Genji was in a tough spot. He got lamed really badly, and because of that, that might have been also a trigger why he went for Drush FC at the end, because probably he felt like, especially after opening a Drush, he didn't feel like a Drush Archers would have been legitimate or something that works nicely for him.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's very hard to go normal Feudal Age when you do Barracks before Mill. I can't remember if he did Barracks before Mill, but I think he did.
Yeah, he did. There was a pre-mill push.
Did, yeah. Okay, yeah, it's very hard to click up 24 pop and do Archers, unless you've got something like an extra 340 food like Bad Boy did have.
Okay, so that leaves us with Forest Pond or Not Socotra as RoR's home maps. Do you call Modri and tell him that you need some monks, or you try Forest Pond first in this situation?
I'm not sure, honestly. I mean, they did first pick Aztecs, right?
Yes.
Yes, they first pick Aztecs, so I would presume they would pick Not Socotra, but maybe they don't want to have their best map, second. Maybe they want to save that one in case they're like, down another game. So I think both options are viable here. I don't know what you think.
I also think that's a possibility. I feel like there is a little bit more risk involved in picking Not Socotra because you're relying so much on that Monk and Siege push, and if it, for whatever reason, fails, and it could be just bad Monk RNG, getting your Monks intercepted by some light cav, you could lose that game immediately. So I feel like there's a lot of risk associated with the Not Socotra Monk strategy, but it looks like it's gonna be Forest Pond, so I'm at 10 seconds whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for my replace folder, sorry. It will load soon, don't worry.
So
here we go.
It is Forest Pond, and it looks like Genji will be replaced by Modri here. I think Modri is basically the player that's going to play on the closed maps.
Yep. Okay, so sorry to interrupt, but I'm 10 seconds. I'm ready.
All right, let's code in 3, 2, 1, and go. So, welcome to Forest Pond. We are going to have Modri on the left side in blue as Lithuanians. Green is going to be the Civ for Kamigawa as Japanese. Right side will be Song Song in Burmese in yellow, and we'll have Italians for Bad Boy in red. Which of these two civilizations do you prefer? Because I feel like we're seeing very, very different approaches here for the two teams.
Yes, that's an excellent question. I think overall for hybrid maps, I think Japanese and Lithuanians are better. But at the same time, Italians and Burmese, you definitely have options with them, right? Like you can go for two castle Arambai, you can do all sorts of stuff with Italians. They're just a great kind of closed map civ, and then they're a great water civ as well, so they're kind of perfect for this map. Yeah, I would definitely say that RR probably have a slightly favored with the civs, but it's definitely not a huge insurmountable difference. I don't know what you think.
I feel like RoR has great civilizations for like standard maps, if you think about that. Oh, thank you so much, Nilly, for the 9 months of support. I appreciate that. Welcome back, Nilly. So, I feel like Japanese and Lithuanians would be a Civ combination that you would love in a 2v2 hybrid map setup. I feel like Song Song and Bad Boy went for more specialized maps, and the tricky thing is that what you have to be careful about is getting castle dropped by the Burmese player, because they might just play with the Italian player fighting on water, and then you will have a castle drop from Song Song.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. It's going to be really interesting to see how the RR team do kind of deal with this, whether it will just be Modri going water because he's already building the dock, obviously, and maybe Kamigawa will focus on going castle age. But yeah, how do you deal with something like two castle Arambai? Because you don't really have any mobility options, right?
I feel like the bigger problem is not even necessarily two castle Rambai, it's just a castle in your face, because there's nowhere to go from your base, and we have seen that in the qualifiers in the last round, that getting castle dropped is extremely dangerous on this map, because you could be trapped within your own base. It's a very, very fine balance between land and water investments, and I feel like if you have one player that's going to play water, that has to be the Japanese player from Kamigawa, who also didn't finish his dock. Oh, that's a little sloppy. He stopped at 99.9%. And that hurts because that delays the first fishing ship.
Yeah, that is very painful. That being said, though, both docks are already out for the RR players, so they are earlier than the Vietnamese players, which makes sense because obviously Japanese get the wood discount, and Lithuanians you can build it very early with the build that Modri did. Yeah, so I see what you mean about the forward castle stuff. Do you think we'll see one of the RR players just go focus on land and not worry about the water?
It's hard to say, because I feel like if you have one of the RR players focusing land, that should be Modri, but Modri is so far away from Song Song that I struggle to see how he could stop aggression with double castle, or even just the forward castle run by play. I could technically justify something like going scouts for Modri here, because if you expect a castle drop, and I feel like you kind of have to expect it, then you can at least prevent it from being a forward castle by having scouts out, and force Song Song to make it back at home and send the Arambai all the way across the map to the opponent.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure about scouts. I feel like maybe like it would just be easier for Modri to go water, and Kamigawa could just do FC crossbows, and then you kind of mitigate the threat anyway. Because scouts will kind of delay your cast time quite a bit. But it's definitely a possibility. Yeah, it looks like... Okay, so Modri is about to click up right now. 7 minutes. And let's look at its build. Okay, so Modri is doing water.
Yeah, Modri is going for water indeed. And it looks like Kamigawa's gonna click up at the same time, and he seems like he's also going for water, to me.
I'm not sure if I like this, honestly.
Yeah, this is a tricky thing. I feel like double water can win you water easily, and that could lead to a massive fish boom, but this is a super, super fine balance between the two. Because if you overinvest into water, you would just get castle dropped, and I think we have seen Hera and Leary losing to that last round. Like, if you just go both water, you will just get castle dropped and you will have no defense against it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, you have to kind of think what are the pros and cons of taking water. Like one of the pros, obviously, is that with Japanese and Lithuanians, you'll get some really nice fishing economy. But like there isn't a huge amount of fish, right? There's enough for it to be worth it. But is it worth it for 2 people to commit? Hard to say. Looking at Bad Boy's build, let's see what's he going for. Or Song Song's build, sorry.
Song Song seems like he's FCing this one. He is clicking up at 28 eco overall, pushed in all the tier. Has some fishing eco because that's still a nice thing to have boosting your FC, but he's just adding 2 vultures to gold. He doesn't have any on stone just yet, but he might just send the food vultures on stone later on.
Well, that being said, Leader, I mean, Burmese are also an amazing monk siege set, so he could just go forward, build a monastery, build a siege workshop, get all the upgrades really cheap. I mean, that's super strong as well, right?
Yeah, that's very possible. I want to highlight Song Song's scouting. This is extremely important. He didn't scout much, but what he did was scout who he is up against, and that's the important part. And
and we do see, like you said, we do actually see the stone mine, so he is probably going Baron by and a castle drop.
But not so fast, says Kamigawa. He knows exactly what is coming, and this is not something that either of us accounted for. He will just stonewall the side to slow this castle drop down, and that's a very, very nice thing to do here.
Yeah, that's a really, really intelligent play, actually, because it's not that much of a wall. I mean, stone is obviously quite a big investment because it's a major town centers, but it's worth it if you're going to, be able to kind of delay a castle drop by, like, enough time that you can kind of really feel that economic bonus from getting the fish out, right?
It looks like we already have the fishing eco of Song Song going now. I like this quite a bit. Modri is focusing on Bad Boy, just limiting the movement of his navy. And Kamigawa sends his first fire galleys to the yellow player because they know that he is Dark Age still, so he can't make fire galleys on his own.
Yep, very intelligent. And this should be fairly clean water win for RoR, just because they have 2 players against 1. So yeah, I mean, I guess we have to favor RoR a little bit now, right? Because they're prepared for the castle drop. They'll have better economy, or they should. And yeah, okay, these civs late game, which ones do you prefer? Like, if this goes to a boom war?
I think I prefer Lithuanians, Japanese. Lithuanians are always very dangerous in late game, even though the relic spawns aren't really favoring RoR. They only have 2 relics that are easy to pick up, the rest of them are on the side of the Vietnamese team. But I feel like this might not go very, very late game, because this is going to be a massive eco advantage for RoR if they can secure water this easily.
Yeah, that's true. It depends how much Bad Boy really commits to the forward castle, right? I mean, if he just goes for 3GC boom, I mean, the eco difference wouldn't be huge, because the problem with going so heavily for water, like, is if you do just do straight boom, you can just catch up and the build count quite quickly. But yeah, it really depends how much damage Bad Boy can do. And here we go. Here come the villagers.
Oh, look at Kamigawa. He's going for double layer stone walls. I think they did this in one of the previous rounds as well. I think we could see it in the highlights. It was against like early conquistadors or so, but that's the game plan. Like 5 layer stone walls, and it's important because a single layer can be blasted through by petards very easily.
Yeah, especially in Field Age, right, when the walls have lower HP. So it's really important to get that double layer down. And yeah, I think this is it's gonna be interesting to see what Song Song's reaction to seeing the stone walls is.
He's like, oh man,
he's already seen them, yeah.
Yeah, he saw the stone walls, but he's like, okay, what now? Because they lost water, they're behind by 14 eco already, and if you have this big fishing eco, you see that the castle age times are actually gonna be comparable for Modri and Kamigawa to Song Song. This is looking extremely good for RoR.
Yeah, exactly, and like we were saying, like, it's not like Song Song can just commit out now. He's got all these resources for the castle, right? So he's got to go for some kind of aggression, and now they're kind of just forced to do damage with that, right? Otherwise, they're going to be massively far behind.
Kamigawa is going to go for stone mining, obviously, because he's going to add more layers of walls. There's a battering ram for Song Song, so Song Song doesn't want to drop the castle forward just yet. He wants to get through the walls first. If you're Kamigawa, do you consider maybe sending a couple more vultures on stone for a defensive castle of yours, so that you can sort of slow down a run by aggression?
Yeah, that's one way to deal with it, yeah, for sure. I think maybe monks as well could be a great shout, just to get the siege as well. Same with crossbows. It's interesting because he might also go for the university quite quickly to get fortified wall as well, which would be really useful. Um, One thing I would say though is I'm really surprised Bad Boy is still on the water. Like he's not given up, and the only issue with that is that he's not actually up to card stage yet.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like this is the moment where you're like, you know that you have to prevent the opponent from having a fish boom, because this is the part of the game where it's the most dangerous. Having your opponent by 15 eco advantage in mid-game, like this is super dangerous, but he just doesn't have the tools to slow this one down whatsoever, because whichever RoR player gets to Castle Age, soon it looks like Modri will be fighting water, and Kamigawa will just be defending against this aggression with Siege Workshop and Monks. But
Yep.
Modri will just grab War Galley and win the water with that.
Or he should, yeah. I mean, fair play to Bad Boy for kind of delaying the eco a little bit. He has killed some fish now, which is nice, but I can't really see how or why that he was so far behind the card stage, especially with Italians. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like he should definitely have clicked up by. Oh, actually, no, it's only 18 minutes in. Never mind.
Yeah,
I think you're just right. That fish really does snowball, doesn't it?
Yeah, that fish is extremely good. Even just keeping the fishing eco alive is very important. So, I think it reminds me a little bit on the Bay games in Hidden Cup. Whichever player kept the fishing eco alive for longer usually had a very, very good castle age time compared to the opponent. And indeed, coming out once a defensive castle, and things are getting heated up here. He's housed and he can't get that mangonel out just yet.
Yeah, I mean, I know this game isn't over yet. I mean, this aggression is really dangerous, right? I mean, and also Kamigawa doesn't really have that many monks either, so like this could really snowball if he doesn't defend properly.
Yeah, so far his defense has been fairly decent, but Songsung is trying everything he can. He's going for towers to prevent the mangonels from killing the rams. If that market goes down, suddenly things could get very, very rough here, and that market isn't really staying up.
Yeah, but I think that being said, it's still a kind of an awful choke point with 2 monks, so like he can't really commit. Especially with the mangonels there, like I think this is kind of like worst case scenario if you're pushing it and you're Songsung right now. It's just like so tight, you can't micro, you can't maneuver your mangonels, like it's just so awkward.
Yeah, it's very hard with those stone walls around. Songsung is piling up stone for a second castle, as Bad Boy is still not giving up on water. He actually tried to go for another dock, but that didn't work out. And I guess he just wants to sort of go for the fire ships of his own, but Modri is gonna have a much better eco behind that. He's going for TC number 3 already. And, well, the blacksmith will go down, the market went down. I feel like the market going down is a big thing in situations like this, because sometimes when you have to defend against a play like this, you have to use the market very heavily, because your eco balance might not be that good.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Market can be really useful. Just like even if we look at his resources now, right? He's only got 100 gold, so if you wanted redemption or something like that, he could probably use the market, sell some resources. But without the market, you can't do that. One thing I don't know what you think about this. I really don't like Bad Boy committing to the water still. 'Cause, I mean, if you look at the amount of fish still left, I mean, there really isn't that many fish. Like at this point, you're kind of just fighting for some water map control. Like, is it really worth it at this point? Do you think?
I don't think so. I feel like he kind of has to finish it off a little faster. One thing that's worth pointing out is that Modri is on stone. So I feel like if you're Modri and you see that Bad Boy is only fighting water, as with a second castle coming in from Song, could be an extremely important castle here.
Yeah, this is extremely important.
Oh, nice shot. That was a beautiful shot from both sides, honestly. Killing 3 villagers from Song, but you also killed 2 mangonels if you're Bad Boy, and the monk conversions...
Oh, never
that's 3 conversions. I'm going to like that if I am Kamigawa.
Yeah, but that castle is going up though. So
is
that's
it
great for Kami? Or is it? Maybe it isn't.
It's 67% only, and there's 3 around by soon. A mangonel popping up once again. Housed is Kamigawa. If that castle goes up, it's scary. And
yeah, is that gonna go up?
There is no blacksmith research flashing to shoot the villagers behind. And the Arambai are now getting picked off. 81% is the castle. We got some fire ships sneaking out from Bad Boy, by the way, sinking the fishing eco of Kamigawa. That's a nice find, but as I said, ultimately the water will be lost for Vietnam. And it seems like the castle is going up, which is going to be a little concerning for Kamigawa now, because Song is still on stone, and there's a chance for a 3rd castle, which would be extremely devastating.
Yeah, and if you actually look, Song has denied both stone piles, so like Kamigawa now has no real response to that. Like, he can't build a castle of his own unless he buys it. So he'll just have to keep relocating everything, right? And he'll lose all his gold. So this is actually really dangerous for Kami as well. And
Yeah, and I feel like still we are at a stage where we could say that if Kamigawa just dies slowly and he takes the role of the punching bag, Modri could snowball things because his eco is great, he's got water control, he's like double layer stone wall on the right side. Still, he won't have access to a lot of relics. That's something to point out.
yeah, I think one thing that I completely agree. One thing that I dislike, like I said, was Bad Boy's choice to still commit for this water. Like, he's just kind of given up his eco quite a bit, right? If we look at Modri's will count, he's on 70 against 56, right? Like, there's a huge difference, and he hasn't really won water, right? Like, if he decided to commit out a little bit sooner, then yeah, maybe that will count would be a little bit closer. And if you're looking at two 1v1s, maybe Bad Boy could kind of break even against Lithuanians. That's all he needs to do, right?
Yeah, exactly. He needs to get to Genoese crossbows, otherwise he's in big trouble against heavy cavalry, but Genoese crossbows can hold against cavalry very nicely. If he works towards that, maybe goes for a couple of stone walls himself to slow down that aggression, then they can definitely be in a good position. And look at that Imperial Age timing from Song Song, man.
Wow, that is impressive.
So, with that, he could get traps out, and that means that Kamigawa's base will disappear in basically 4 minutes or so.
Yeah, I mean, they are very committed to this, though. So it's if Kami can relocate with a lot of eco, I think it should still be quite even. As you said, they just need to die slowly, right? Like, Modri seems like he's quite far ahead.
Modri yoinks the relic from Kamigawa's base while that is still available, so he will be sitting on 2 relics, that's nice. Going for University and Siege Workshop, so he definitely wants to go up to Imp soon, but I'm really unsure how long Kamigawa can hold this, and as you said, if he can relocate, that's nice, but there isn't really a lot of space to relocate to limited amount of gold, and losing that much map control could be troublesome.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And also, if you think about it, how does Modri really take back that map control, right? Like, he'll probably go for something like, what, Paladins? And if he goes for Paladins, it's kind of hard to just, you know, take down castles unless you have your own castle in Kami's base. So it will take a while for Song Song to be cleaned up, and that will probably buy a lot of time for Bad Boy, right?
Yeah. Also, Paladins are actually, like, if you think about the fact that they could match up against Genoese crossbows that direct counter them and Arambai that also kill melee units very easily, I feel like the composition is there for Bad Boy and Song Song to beat Paladin, as Modri is going up to Imperial, Bad Boy decides to go for 5 TC boom now.
Yeah. I think with the Arambai nerf, they're actually a little bit worse against melee units, just because they have less damage. But they're still solid. They're not as strong as they used to be, though.
Yeah, still, just like a big mass of Cav Archer, they can be dangerous to just exclusively melee units, and immediately traps are queued up by Song Song, so you can actually challenge those TCs. Another castle drop from Song Song. I'm not necessarily a fan of that, to be honest. I don't think that he needs that castle just yet. He could wait a little bit with that, trap down those TCs, and get an even more so forward castle for some more map control.
Yeah, I think that one's fine though, because I think he wants to defend his traps, right?
Oh, look at those beautiful romantic castles, as Mem would say on the south.
Yeah, very close together.
And it looks like Modri's gonna go either direct skirms or that's gonna be CA. Although CA against Italians would make no sense, just like Paladin. I assume that he knows that he's gonna be against Genoese crossbows, but the reality is that there's gonna be no Genoese crossbows because this castle might get denied.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't know what you think, but I don't really like this gunplay. I feel like if you look, I guess they can't know how well Bad Boy is doing, but I mean, Bad Boy has 1 castle, right? I mean, if you were to come in here with like 40 Cavalier, like he wouldn't have enough Genoese crossbow, and you'd be able to snowball the game, right? But by going for something like skirms, are you gonna be able to push quickly enough?
Yeah, I feel like biggest problem with Genoese crossbows is always getting your numbers up. That's some nice conversion on the other side from Kamigawa, converts like 4 Arambai. And Bad Boy is just now going to Imperial, whereas Modri is up, so Modri can make traps immediately.
Yeah, I think the problem here is, honestly, like you were saying, is Kami's not going to be in the game for so long. I mean, he just has to relocate all his eco again. Like, it's just going to be a 1v1 at this point. And, I mean, do you think Bad Boy can hold this?
I'm not sure if he can hold this. Although, as I said, the fact that Modri is going for skirms actually helps Bad Boy here, because Bad Boy is trying to go for Jambos, so he really feels like there is cavalry coming his way, but if there was cavalry, he wouldn't have the numbers. But against skirms, he can just go like Hussar or Cavalier with Italians and slow this one down as much as possible. And I think the bigger problem, as weird as it sounds, will be population space for Modri. He will need numbers on the left and the right as well. And I feel like if Songsung just goes for a couple of light cav, then Kamigawa could be in trouble here. He's got a lot of monks, but light cavs will just annihilate those.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is, though, that this is a base trade at this point. I don't think Modri's focusing on what's going on with Cammy. Cammy's probably just told him just win the game. Like, I'm just going to try and buy you as much time as I can. And I think we kind of see that with how he's playing with these stone walls and the monks, right? I do actually like. I know I criticize the scum play, but I think it makes a lot of sense, right? If you actually look at the position, like you're kind of right. Like Bad Boy is looking to go for January's crossbone, right? And what Modri has done is just tech immediately into the counter. Oh, we do see Latest as well. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I like Latest choice. I feel like Skirm alone wouldn't have worked, but Latest is nice. And one thing we have to consider is that we have two players that have untouched ecos, Songsong and Modri. But if you look at Songsong's ecos at 50 vills, and I think it's better for RoR that Kamigawa, who is their sort of weaker player, is dying slowly, whereas on the other side, Bad Boy is dying slowly, who is their stronger player when it comes to ecos.
Yeah, that's a really good point, right? Do you think Songsong maybe could have transitioned out of this and boomed? Or do you think he had to commit to this aggression like he is doing?
I feel like he's doing the right thing. It's more about the fact that Bad Boy, as you said, overcommitted to water, potentially. This is not necessarily a great fight yet for Modri, though, against the Jambos. He's lacking a lot of upgrades, like no Bloodlines, +2 defense just came in. The Skirms don't have defense upgrades either, but
you can say the same for the crossbows, man. They're not elite, and they've only got... Oh, he just got Bracer, so...
yeah, this is looking better and better for RoR, and I have to say that Kamigawa is just adding more and more layers of fortified walls. He knows exactly he's going to die slowly, and right now the eco lead is in RoR's hand by a massive margin, and like it's going to be tough for Bad Boy to hold this one. He needs to keep those castles up, otherwise he's got no chance against heavy cavalry, because Italians struggle badly against heavy cavalry. It looks like we'll have condos coming in here from Bad Boy.
I'm not sure about the condos, to be honest. Not against the Latest, but do they have any other options, really?
I feel like it's gonna be Kondo and Jembo, because you need something as the Skirms, and I feel like he probably wants to go for Kondos to try and snipe the Skirms instead of like Bombard Cannons or so.
Yeah, I'm just not sure he has really the eco to do it. If you look at his actual resources, it's looking pretty poor. He's only got 30 on food. I just don't see where he's going to be able to get the numbers from, you know?
Yeah, and now it's Songsung realizing that, oh boy, this could be very troublesome if I don't get eco up. He's adding 2 TCs now, getting a 4th forward castle up, man.
Honestly, though, I mean, looking at the position, I think it's just overkill, right? I mean, I think he could have... it's so hard to say, it's so easy to say in hindsight, but maybe he could have been building that eco a little bit sooner, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I did mention that 3rd castle felt a little bit underwhelming, so to say. Kamigawa still adding more stone walls here. So he's got like 5 layers. Bad Boy's gonna have to hold this hill though, but that's going to be awfully tough against 4 traps, bombard cannons, and indeed here comes the 1st castle. And it looks like Songsung might just go slaying with coinage very soon, but I think Modri is killing Bad Boy faster than Songsung is doing so against Kamigawa.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, look at his resources, man. What's he gonna sling? Like, it's not gonna be that helpful. I think the problem for Bad Boy right now is his comp just isn't ideal, right? If Modri gets these skirms like fully teched and those latest fully teched, I don't really see how Italians can really deal with that.
Yeah, in fact, the upgrades for Modri on the latest are somewhat underwhelming. He's focusing more on the skirmishers right now. But he's gotta be careful because his numbers aren't really there. It's 12 skirms and 11 latest only.
Yeah, he kind of just abandoned the skirms and raided with the latest. So I think he was going for the eco there.
Oh my goodness, look at the stone walls from Kamigawa. That's disgusting.
Yep. But it's really smart, right? They know exactly what is going on in the game. They've read the game perfectly. They just know that the Modri's going to snowball this push and that They just need to not take critical damage. Oh, look at that castle again. Like Song Song's really committed to this aggression.
Yeah, he's really trying his best, and if he ever gets through these walls, Vietnam wins the game, and on the other side, Modri runs into the Jambos with all his latest. So that was a little bit too dangerous, but now he will intercept a couple of bombard cannons, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, those bombard cannons could be really important. Like, they could snipe all of the trebs, and if you snipe all the trebs and buy yourself that much time, that could potentially snowball the game, right?
Yeah, exactly, because now is the moment where I feel like there is going to be a zero chance for coming out to reroll this, and the problem is that trebs struggle against walls really badly, so I feel like you can make petards here. That's good. Either trap cut your way through the forest, or go for petards. Another castle goes down from Bad Boy on the other side, so the bombard can still unable to take down the traps up until now. That's 6 traps for Modri.
Yeah, I think at this point it's looking less and less likely for me. I think this Modri push just doesn't look stoppable right now. Like, oh, both bombard cannons being sniped.
Yeah, that was very, very nice.
Yeah.
And I feel like the latest are going down, but as you said, if you see how much ground Bad Boy has already lost and how much relocation he had to do, compared to Kamigawa, or I think most importantly Modri didn't lose a single villager in this game, basically. Yeah, he lost 2 overall.
Yep.
And without castles, you don't stop heavy cavalry with Italians, because their pikeman line is one of the worst in the game. So I feel like Modri's death ball over here seems to work very well, and Song Song really tried his best, dropped 5 castles, but it is... At the end, it was something like 10 layers of stone walls combined for Kamigawa that slowed that push down.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit overkill though, honestly. If you look at what's happened in the game, because like he's already done enough damage that I guess you don't want to let Kami just sit there and free boom, right? But if Song Song were maybe to transition out, you know, he has all his resources, right? He has so much gold that he can take. Like, if he just went boom, maybe. But again, it's hard because then you kind of lose the momentum a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like we discussed the civilizations at the beginning, and one thing I said is that I feel like Modri and Kami have a very standard combination of civs with like an arbalest civ and cavalry civ. So if you go to post-Imperial in a civ matchup with Burmese Italians versus Japanese Lithuanians, you're almost destined to die, and it looks like Song Song is sending all the Arambai to the other side, but skirmishers should have no trouble dealing with that, although the skirms are clustered up quite heavily.
Yep, yeah. I mean, even the latest, if they get, you know, on top of the Arambai, could do quite well as well. Yeah, at this point, I mean, Bad Boy's economy is in complete shambles. That it basically doesn't exist at this point, and it's just on Song Song to hold this 1v2, and all this production is on the other side of the map. So it's looking pretty rough right now.
The Arambai could actually kill all those skirmishers, but as you said, at this point, Bad Boy is pretty much going towards getting defeated. He's just hiding in the corner here, setting up markets for some trade, but indeed, Modri asked for a second, but I guess after the pause, Vietnam has reconsidered their options and that they said, okay, we have no chance in this one. RoR turns this back, riding the 10-layer stone walls of Kamigawa.
Yeah, where do you think this game went wrong for Vietnam? Just from losing the water, or?
It's hard to say. Maybe Bad Boy wanted too much from the water. So if he actually starts building up his eco earlier, starts working towards castles earlier, then he could have had a decent amount of Genoese crossbows to start with. Like as I said, he overinvested into water, and that might have been the reason why he got beaten to Imperial. And if he doesn't get beaten to Imp, he would have had a much better chance holding his castles. He got outnumbered by Trebs really badly.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's very difficult. It's a little bit easier with hindsight, maybe, but you're right. I think Bad Boy maybe a little bit overcommitted to water. Could have got that 3 TC boom in a little bit more quickly. And if he just manages to kind of mitigate that economic snowball a little bit, he doesn't get overrun as much, right? Like he didn't even get elite Genoese crossbowmen, for example. Like it was clear that his boom hadn't really finished, whereas Modri's had. And obviously Modri is, you know, a top tier arena player, so of course Modri will know how to snowball the game. And honestly, fair play to Modri, because I know I kind of didn't really understand the elite skirm choice, but it was kind of perfect for the situation, right? And he managed to get that push in really quickly and kind of clutch the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think that the overall strategy from Kamigawa and Modri was good here. They knew exactly a castle drop is coming. In fact, I think they were hoping that the castle drop is coming, because that way they knew exactly what to prepare for, stonewall it up, and really, if you think about how much Song Song was able to accomplish with 5 castles, like, not a lot. He marched forward, like, what, 100 tiles or so, in comparison to Modri, who was just able to snowball the game with a boom.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think it's easy to say that though, right? Like, I think Song Song achieved a lot of damage and he did great. But I think the problem was the other side, right? So the issue was Bad Boy, like you said, overcommitting to water. I think if you look, this is what I'm saying. Like, if small adjustments could have made the game much closer, because like Song Song's done a good job. I don't think ROR really planned thinking that they'd lose this much ground, right? Like Cameo was just constantly rebuilding, right? Like he's still cast stage. Like that's not really ideal. So if like Bad Boy could have got into a position where like he's not as far behind, like the game could have been much closer. Yeah, I do see what you mean. Like RR clearly knew what was happening, and I think like maybe that fish nibble really helped as well.
Yeah, the fish, I think, helped getting the castle age timing in, so he could get the early monks out. I think that was the heart and soul of this one, because without the fishing eco, you wouldn't have had that good castle age time, and then you struggle quite badly against around by no monks. You don't have the mangonels to take down rams. You have weaker stone walls, as you said. So with that, now we have an even set over here, and that means that we're going to one of the more traditional maps of the tournament, Team Acropolis or Eruption for Vietnam. What do you favor? Is there anything like that on your mind that you could say, hey, this would be better for Vietnam based on what we have seen so far?
Yeah, I mean, well, probably Team Acropolis, just because of the way they play, just very aggressive. You can't really wall that well, but I guess you can fast castle on that map if you want to. It's a little bit risky, but yeah, I'm not honestly. I think either one would work. The thing I'm interested in is civilizations. Like, what civs are they picking on which maps? Because if you look at ROR's civ pool, they have Aztecs, Teutons, Vietnamese. So I mean, if you're gonna play a map like Team Acropolis or Eruption, like what civ are you picking there?
Interesting question, I would say. So, Team Acro, I think, could very well be... I think it could be your Spanish pick, and I think you go for Indians there as your... Well, I am fairly certain you go Indians there because it can go late game, and it could help quite a lot that you have cheaper villagers when it comes to booming, and if you get to a late game scenario, Imp Camos could be extremely useful there. And you combine it maybe with something like Chinese as your archer civ. I can see Saracens being your pick on Natsukotra to try and get through the early walls of the opponent with the archers, and maybe something like Saracens Sicilians. So even though you don't have stone on Natsukotra, so you know dungeon rushing isn't really an option, or going for sergeants, but
Yeah.
Still I don't see Sicilians being that useful anywhere else, although could be your civ for Eruption. And then you have Bulgarians, which would leave it Bulgarians and Spanish to Eruption. Not necessarily a fan of that. I feel like I am starting to like the civilization of RoR more and more. I'm at 10 seconds, by the way, in
Game 3, okay.
Game
Sorry,
3. And you said you would prefer Team Acropolis for Vietnam here, but they don't listen to you. They go for Eruption.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have practice, right? They know a lot more than me about what they're good at. Anyway, I'm at 10 seconds.
All right, let's do 3, 2, 1, and go. So, welcome to a Frozen Capture Age. All right. That's interesting at minimum. Let us... Oops. Okay, we should be good to go. I am at 1 minute right now paused.
Okay,
So-
let me just catch up to you. Give me one
Yeah.
second.
Sorry for that.
Yeah, no worries.
All right. So,
Right, 1 minute.
all right.
Yep.
Let's do a countdown with 3,
Yep.
2, 1, and go. So we will have Ganji and Kamigawa. So Kamigawa comes back in for a more open map, as I think most of us suspected. I would think that Natsukotra will be a Modri map, and Team Acropolis once again will be a Kamigawa map. So we'll have a Kamigawa playing as green Teutons on the left, To the north of him is going to be his teammate Koreans in blue for Ganji. Once again, a fairly balanced combination of civilizations, to be honest. Other side will be Song Song with Indians in yellow and Chinese in red for Bad Boy. A decent combo of civs as well, but I'm actually curious about your opinion with Indians because I feel like the lack of knights can be a massive concern for them.
I think Indians are still pretty strong. I think there's no real change from Indians in car stage at least. It's only an imp where they lose a melee armor on their cav. So I think honestly I would much prefer Chinese and Indians honestly. Like your eco is really good like for both civs. Like the problem with the civs like Teutons is like they're really slow, right? Like you're really slow and you're still building into a counter unit. Like um so I would personally much prefer Vietnam civs. But I think obviously you still have chances with Teutons and Koreans, right?
Yeah, it's an interesting one indeed because Teutons with the lack of mobility, even though they have the extra melee armor on their knights, we have a potential laming attempt once again from Bad Boy. So I feel like Teutons with the extra melee armor, their knights are so strong, but their mobility is a big problem, especially when it comes to fighting against camels. On the other hand, the camels will struggle quite badly against the archers, so I feel like there's a lot of pressure on Ganji to make sure that they have adequate archer numbers out to pick off the camels, because camels, even with +2 pierce armor, is something that archers will eat.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, but the thing is that you have to remember as well that with camels is that they actually build faster than knights as well, and they're also a little bit cheaper as well. So like, yes, they do get eaten by the archers, but usually you can get a nice number of camels out really quickly and really easily, which is one of the reasons Indians were so strong before. Also, like again, like the problem for Cami again is that China is just a better civ than Koreans, just economically.
Yeah.
Just it's going to be so much smoother for Bad Boy to get like a really nice eco running. Whereas like Koreans are still a nice civ and they're kind of a middle of the road like flank civ, especially these days. But like again, you're kind of against some of the best civs in the category, and you've got kind of two middling civs, right? Like it's not a huge difference, but it's definitely noticeable.
Yeah, I feel like the big thing for Koreans will be early castlage, because that early +2 defense being free could be extremely helpful. Even the +1 defense in feudal, but I feel like the real power shows in early castles, so you can get to +2/+2 crossbows really fast.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. Yeah. So in general on this map, how do you think the players are going to play it?
It's hard to say. It's really hard to say, I feel like, because this map is definitely suitable for fast castles, although from what we have seen so far, I feel like it is always one player fast castling, the other one putting some pressure on just to make sure that they're not completely exposed to feudal age aggression. I feel like Kamigawa could very well go for a scout's play, and he's got free on wood, so he will do that.
Yeah.
Whereas Ganji might just FC. I am not sure if he wants to go directly into war wagons. It would be a big gamble, because if he gets to war wagons, that's going to dominate Chinese. But getting to war wagon could be very scary, especially against Indian camels.
Yeah, I really doubt we'll see war wagons. Just because, like you said, Indian camels will just eat them for breakfast with that extra bonus damage. Like, I would be shocked. Maybe they will, but yeah, I doubt we'll see that. We'll probably just see normal crossbow play. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right with the strategy choice. It looks like both scout players or both cavalry players are going for scouts, and it looks like, I mean, Bad Boy and Ganji, I think they look like they're going to fast castle. Let's have a look at Bad Boy. Oh no, Bad Boy's actually going feudal. So Bad Boy will be going for aggressive feudal age play here.
I feel like that's not necessarily something I like. Actually, Song Song going for feudal, or both of them. That's
Yeah,
what I
both of
want to
them, yeah,
point
yeah.
out. Because I feel like going only archer aggression makes little sense, because the archers struggle to get through walls. So if you go for archer's aggression, you also have to go for a feudal aggression. But I think we're going to see something very similar to the Arabia game here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So everyone is just going for. I think it makes sense, honestly. If you look at their maps, like their maps are not good. Like, usually you can get a better map gen on this map, but it seems like all four players have got like really awkward maps. Like for Ganji, like his gold is like easily ranged on the hill. Like all his woods are rangeable. Like for Bad Boy, like his gold is on the right, really exposed, hard to wall. Like same with all the other players. So like it kind of makes sense that they're going for feudal age.
Yeah, Gunji's
Yeah,
gonna
like-
go for feudal as well, with
Yeah,
a straight archers. I feel like that's the safer decision. I'm not sure if this was the original plan or he just kind of reacted to what they see from the opponent. They felt like, hey, my stone is very, very open potentially. My gold isn't safe, so I would just try to play it safe and go for archers.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I also think you have to remember the Arabia game as well, right? Like, what did Genji try and do? He tried to fast castle, and what happened? They got massively punished. So, like, maybe this is also like, hey, we know we're playing against an aggressive team. Maybe it's just easier with bad maps to just play safe, you know? And I think it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So everybody will be fully voted, which means that I don't think that we should see a huge amount of feud or result or benefit from those feudal age aggression, even though Song Song is actually going very, very heavy on scouts. He already has 4 out. But I think Ganji will be able to finish Wars in time here.
Yeah, I think he should be looking to rush that down, otherwise this could be a little bit of an issue.
I'm getting a PTSD to the Arabia game over here because this is very close. You have to drop a house there to finish that wall.
Yeah, I think he is going to.
But I don't like that he actually sent out the scout. Although, if he doesn't lose it, it's fine. But still, it's a little bit scarier. In this situation, though, I'm starting to feel better for Ganji and Kamigawa because the archers for Ganji will temporarily be better than the Chinese archers. And the Teutons, they will have a great food eco compared to Indians, and that could be something to build on. Getting an early Castle Age in the first couple of nights, intercepting some archers from Bad Boy could be a massive power spike.
Maybe. I think I struggle to see the Teutons will be up massively before Indians. I think it'll probably be quite similar, maybe like 10-15 seconds for Teutons. I think the thing as well, you have to remember with Teutons, right? They're just not as mobile, right? So if you are looking to intercept, like it's going to be a little bit more difficult, especially with Teutons, just because they are lacking husbandry. That's why this map is just so big. I don't really like Teutons as much as Indians for that reason, right? Like, if you just look, there are so many places that you can go and do damage with a group of army. Like, I feel like with Teutons, you could be kind of susceptible to chasing the game quite a lot.
Yeah, I feel like Teutons can make sense once you get to the stage where you have to fight in the middle, because they're a strong and slow army is better than a mobility, but
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
as you said, in Feudal Age, Indians should have a massive upper hand, even early castle, and we saw Kamigawa running into a couple of spearmen with his scouts. So Song Song has the scout numbers advantage, and it looks like Ganji will have to dispatch his archers to help his teammate here.
Yeah, it looks like Genji and Kami have done a better job with kind of, maybe not grouping the army, but it just seems like Genji has more numbers, at least aggressively, than Bad Boy does. So it looks like no damage will really be done to either player, at least for the foreseeable future.
This is an interesting decision from Song Song. He goes for a market instead of a blacksmith. Do you think that here he could gamble on selling his stone and buying himself up? So he gets like a slightly better castle age time. He can buy the stone back later.
No. You shouldn't sell your stone. You maybe sell 100 wood. Like I'd see that, but selling your stone is just too expensive.
I'm gonna trust you with that. I just thought that as a theoretical possibility, as we have the archers from Bad Boy getting cleaned up. Bad Boy only has fletching, whereas those archers are +1/+1. And it looks like Song Song indeed won't be selling his stone.
Yep. And yeah, he's actually the first one to click up. So he did actually manage to manage his eco quite well and get up before Kami. Kami's actually not even close to going up. I'm not sure how exactly that happened. Maybe he invested less into scouts.
He grabbed wheelbarrow, and that's fairly expensive food-wise. I think the main thing that he's missing is food.
Right. Okay. So Song Song didn't get wheelbarrow.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Neither of the Vietnamese players have wheelbarrow. On the other side, we do have coming out with wheelbarrow. What's more concerning, I believe, is that the Bad Boy has double bidax and horse color and the power of Chinese farms. Whereas on the other side, Gunji has no eco upgrades. No bidax, no horse color, no wheelbarrow whatsoever, so his eco isn't really looking great.
Wow, I have no idea how he doesn't even have bidax. That's very odd. That must just be a mistake.
Yeah, I felt like he probably focused so much on walling and getting the second range up early, and I feel like oftentimes you're like, okay, I'm gonna skip it and then come back to this, but then you forget about it. So
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at the military count, though, I mean, Ganji's got double the archers that the Bad Boy does. Like, I just can't help but feeling that Bad Boy didn't have the best production. So, like, I know that Ganji maybe like prioritized the the production a little bit too much, but like, I don't see how you can justify really having only like 9 archers at this point in the game, you know?
yeah, he lost a couple of archers when they tried to push Kamigawa's base, but you're right, the archer numbers seem a little underwhelming, and this is what I was referring to. Even though he's going to beat Ganji to castle by a minute, when Ganji reaches in castle age, he's gonna have +2 defense immediately, so suddenly those crossbows will be a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, also really important. Look at this TC in the middle. I mean, if Ganji could spot that, that would be huge.
Yeah, that would be a game-changing move. And even though there is camos out, the camos only have +1 defense, so they only have 2 pierce armor overall. I think this many archers can do decent against just a couple of camos. But it looks like Genji sees this DC.
He sees it, yeah.
He sees it, but I feel like he saw the camos coming at the back, and he felt like, okay, I don't want to take this gamble at losing my entire army.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Yeah, I think at that point as well, the TC is so far built that if he did go for it, it'd just be a huge risk, right? In general, you kind of want to stray away from like massive risks.
He's going to take the hill though. Remember that crossbow is almost in for Bad Boy, so that would be crossbows with +1 defense versus archers with +1 only. And now he's gonna be forced to run down hills. That's a disaster, I think.
Yeah, this is really tricky now. Like now they've caught out Ganji's army. Oh, but we do see Kamigawa sending in the knights now though. But yeah, this is the problem with this map, right? As soon as you take this hill like they've done, like this is so important, right? Because they can just camp this hill for the entire game if they play correctly.
Those knights are so important for Kamigawa. They pretty much need to slow this army of crossbows down because the crossbows are the real danger, not the camels right now. Because they need to save that army of archers. It's not a long time. They need like 30 more seconds until Botkin and crossbow kicks in, but that 30 seconds is very important.
Yep. I mean, okay, so at this point in the game, RoR has to find a way to try and contest the middle. Like, how do they really do that?
Fast numbering sounds like a plan to me, to be honest. That's a University Ballistics, fast numbering with +2 defense. This could very well be like 22 fully upgraded Castle Age crossbows. Ballistics just now for Bad Boy, but we have to point out that Song Song will have a free TC boom, and indeed they have a nice position in the middle with the TCs.
Yeah, this is the issue, isn't it? Like, even though you have Thumbring, I mean, the problem is, right, like, you have the hill, and you're never going to lose the hill if you play correctly, right? So you're just already at a disadvantage, and then again, like with Teutons, you're just kind of fighting into a counter unit, which makes it very difficult as well, right?
Yeah, it makes it very, very difficult overall. And as I said, the biggest problem is that the clock is ticking for Kamigawa and Ganji. The clock is ticking really badly, to be honest, because, well, they're running out of gold. Their opponents also have sort of the counterplay to them. So as you said, Chinese eco will be better than Korean, and Indians would just clap Teutons.
Yeah, I mean, the problem as well, I think we have to kind of appreciate how well the Vietnamese team played as well, because as soon as they could, they got those TCs in the middle, right? And they just immediately took control of like that kind of early ring. Like you could tell how much they prioritized getting control of the early ring. The Song Song didn't even get wheelbarrow as Indians, which would be like is like standard meta to get wheelbarrow when you're doing scouts. But I think they kind of realized that, hey, we need to take control of the middle. We need to take this hill. And I'm going to kind of prioritize the military over the economy to do that. Well, they're kind of out of position now. This could be the fight.
Yeah, this could be a big fight, and those knights do jump on the crossbows. This could be slightly better for RoR, although it's hard to tell.
Yeah. This is, again, when those camels are fighting knights, it's really good. But they're fighting... This is very difficult to call.
Yeah, the monks are down, and the camels have a harder time cleaning up the crossbows than knights do, so I feel like this was a good enough fight for RoR to be able to fight on from this point, but not good enough to decide the outcome of the game just yet. They need some more crossbows on that hill.
Yeah, honestly, I think it was just a miss micro from Song Song. Because I think you need those camels to just be chasing the knights and not bother with the crossbows. Like, it's kind of counterintuitive to think that, but like camels don't really have that high damage, right? So if they're like attacking crossbows, they're kind of wasting their their damage. You need them just to be like chasing those shooting slow knights down, right?
So yeah, as you said, it's actually better crossbow numbers now for Bad Boy. 31 crossbows versus 26, and even though those crossbows are lacking +2 defense, they have the hill in exchange.
Yeah, this is the issue, right? As soon as you take this hill, like the game kind of snowballs, right? So it's gonna be kind of difficult. I mean, Genji's trying his best with the micro.
Yeah, but this is looking extremely rough. 11 knights against 17 camos, +2 defense almost in for Bad Boy, and they're constantly forced to fight up hills. And even though the monks won't do much against Teutons, it's the hill advantage that is really swinging the battle in the favor of Ganji and Kamigawa.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, economically, Kamigawa is only on 2 town centers, so he's really committed to this as well. If you look at the general eco numbers, like the Vietnamese team are both like solid 70s, whereas the RoR team are 50s and 60s. So like they're prioritizing on the military and they're not winning the map. So like this is kind of worst case scenario for the RoR team.
Yeah, I feel like Kamigawa knows that clock is ticking really badly because he's 9 on stone. Could be just selling stone to buy themselves some more time, but I feel like you gotta start potentially going for a YOLO play here a little bit more and trying to get a castle up on that ridge, which currently seems impossible. Bad Boy and Song Song play this one really smart, like placing buildings everywhere to prevent a castle or a forward, like any kind of forward position, basically.
Yep, I think you can really tell the Vietnamese team have practiced this map because of like you said, they clearly know, right? Like this hill is really important. They're building all the buildings on it. They're securing it with mangonels, monks, everything. Like it's just so hard right now if you're RoR to even kind of get up the hill, right? Like it's just like you run up, you run into mangonels, camels, and crossbows, and then you have to run back. Either that or you lose your whole army. So oh, and also Bad Boy and Cammy are also up to Imp at the same time.
Yeah, I think the big problem with that is that Bad Boy will have like 30-35 orbs in Imp, whereas Kami right now is sitting on 6 knights. But
Yeah.
even if they are Cavalier, I mean, Camos have +2/+2 in here for Song Song. There's a couple of monks, and even though those are Teuton knights, eventually they still get converted if there is like a lot of meat shield in form of camels and orbs in front.
Yeah, and just a general thing, right? It's better to have archers on a hill than it is to have like kind of knights on a hill, right? Like if you have like 40 crossbows on a hill, like all of them are getting the damage bonus at the same time, whereas like if you're like a big army of cavalier, like not all of them will get the damage bonus. So like already like having the arbs on the hill is crazy strong, and you know the kind of cavalier aren't really going to be able to mitigate that that kind of hill bonus rate.
Yeah, absolutely. Gunch's remaining gold mine on the front actually gets denied, which makes this one even worse. And I think the biggest problem is that both players from the Vietnamese team will have a good army, and Imperial Age most importantly.
Yeah, I think the problem is at this point is all these timings are going to be quite even. So like, we already see Song Song on the way to him, Bad Boy's on the way to him. I know Ganji and Cammy also are on the way to him. Like the problem is like, it doesn't really. They need to be like ahead in these timings, right? They need to try and find a way to snowball the game. And if you're like just kind of hitting those timings at the same time, it doesn't matter because one team has all the gold, one team doesn't. It's that simple, right?
Yeah, it just looks really rough, especially because you have to soon take a fight here.
Yeah, they've got to do something soon to try and, you know, claw back the game.
So, at this point, Arbalest is almost in, and, I mean, there is gonna be Cavalier, but we talk about 19 Cavalier that still have 6 milli armor, but even, I think, 32 Castle Age Camos will still beat 19 Cavalier, even without the Arbalest support.
Yeah. With the Arbalest support, yeah, exactly. And those Arbals are positioned nicely on the hill. I think they might be looking to take one last fight here, just to see if they can stable it and maybe get something done with the numbers.
Yeah, but that doesn't seem likely. Even though they have the hill and those crossbows are technically fully upgrading Castle Age, it's now an Arbalest army with Bracer, Chemistry, and all the Mangonels coming from the hill as well. Those crossbows gonna get annihilated.
Yeah, this is probably their last hurrah in the game, I think.
Mangonels! Oh my goodness!
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this game is very much over.
Yeah. Honestly, I think they just gave that last fight for the viewers, honestly, and that last Mangonel shot for the viewers. I think they knew it was over at that point.
Yeah, I felt like no matter what they do, even without the manganos, that would have been a cleanup, but that was some nice explosions and blasts over there. Bad Boy and Song Song once again take a game, and it seems like they just like to play these more open maps in those. Very, very nicely done so
Yeah,
far.
honestly, yeah. I think you can just tell that they have really good team synergy and they have better civs, right? And they just kind of use their advantages, use their early cost stage time to just kind of get an unstoppable advantage, right, with taking the middle so quickly. So really well played by the Vietnamese team. And yeah, we'll go on to North Socotra now, right?
We have to, because the only home map left for RoR would be not Socotra. So far, RoR is unbeaten with Modri on board. Let's see if that
Continues, yeah. Let's see.
Okay, yeah, it did.
So we know they're going to pick Aztecs on this map, right? But what is their other civ choice, do you think?
Goths. You go for a lame. And then you play with
interesting.
Turks, Cavalry on Team Acropolis alongside Vietnamese. I think that's your most legitimate combination in this situation. Yeah. I'm not necessarily a fan of Vietnamese and Turks on Team Acropolis, especially the Turks part is not something I'm impressed about, but I feel like that's something that they have to worry about if they get there or when they get there. Other side is more interesting. I think it's Saracens and maybe Bulgarians, like a fast man-at-arms play is something I can think about. So, like, go super aggressive, as you said, Saracen archers and Bulgarian men-at-arms, because you assume that Modri will be fast castling into monks.
Yeah, right.
So, a very, very aggressive play could be reasonable. So I would think it's Bulgarians and Saracens. And we have some surprises. I believe I'm gonna be paused at 10 seconds.
Yep, I'm ready.
So give me a moment, and then we can actually start the next game as well. So decider game, and if RoR loses this one, then they are out of the tournament in the group stage. So let's take a look if they will have a chance to redeem themselves in game number 1. We're going to Not Socotra. Are you ready? Let's go.
I'm ready, yep.
3, 2, 1, go.
Here we go.
So, welcome to Not Socotra, and it looks like they don't bring in their gods here. So no laming will be there for them, or at least not something that's super aggressive. And we'll have Turks and Aztecs. Turks with what could be a scout's play into light calves overall, because Janissaries feel quite impossible on a map that has, well, you know, no stone at all.
No stone, yep.
Other side, Bad Boy will be playing Saracens in red as expected, and Bulgarians for Song Song in yellow, so we were right about those.
Yeah, the question is, what do you go for if you're the Vietnamese team, right? Because you kind of know the fast castle monks is coming. Like, how do you really deal with that, right?
I would say you can think about men-at-arms, archers in this situation, and then you potentially try to abuse the Saracen market into crossbows and try to, like, use... If you have, like, 20-ish crossbows or 15-ish, you can actually hold against early monks quite nicely.
Yeah, that's true. The problem is when the mangonels start coming out, right? And I guess... I think, would you think we'll see like knights from Ganji or just light cab, or it's kind of hard to say, right? I know when we played them. Well, actually, I don't want to say that, but when I've seen them play before, like usually one player will go full monks and one player will go like full knights, right? So it'll be interesting to see if like they make any changes based on the Turk pick. I'm just kind of struggling to see how Bulgarians and Saracens are gonna really deal with the monks in Castle Age.
Yeah, I feel like light cav is definitely something that could be part of the equation, but I'm more curious about how Saracens will be used, because I feel like Saracens have a lot of flexibility on this map. We talked about the fact that there is no stone here. Buying stone is much more legitimate with Saracens than it is with any other civilizations.
Yeah, that's very true. And also, like you said before as well, right? Like it's much easier to break in with these two civs, right? Like Saracens and Bulgarians is a really strong combination in feudal age because of the archers getting more damage to buildings and the fact that Bulgarians get men at arms really early. But like this map is really wallable though, so like will you be able to, get in quickly enough to do enough damage? I guess that's what we'll find out, right?
Yeah, I feel like men-at-arms and Saracen archers combined could be a thing to consider. But you're right, if they can get through the walls, they could be in trouble. We have 3 on wood from everybody, I believe, with the exception of Song Song. What's more interesting is that Song Song actually went for a very, very close wood line instead of moving all the way out to the acacia trees.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know if there's reasoning behind that. Just maybe like idle time because it takes a little bit longer to walk, but that's not it's not very normal. You also built a mill, which makes sense because you do need a mill anyway, right? To just build a market and to click up. But yeah, kind of odd. Not standard.
I feel like this is sort of if he's going for fast men-at-arms, I understand why he went for a close lumber camp, because fast men-at-arms could be a tight build with Bulgarians, especially if you do quite a lot of walling like he is doing. So could make sense to try and get a steady wood income as fast as possible.
Yeah, but you kind of argue if you're doing fast men-at-arms, why are you walling this much, right? It doesn't really make sense with your strategy choice because you're going to be looking for the early aggression anyway, right? So it's kind of tricky to say what the players will open. If we just go on a POV, yeah, there's no real indicators as to what they're doing right now. At least in Song Song's POV. I mean, RoR is clearly walling up and trying to do fast castle, I think. But with the Vietnamese team, it's harder to say.
Yeah, RoR is actually doing a very, very nice job walling this one up. It's worth pointing out that in the previous round, RoR played against Miguel and Dogao, and they went for this map as well. And I think one of the problems that they faced that they had a much harder time walling themselves up than this time. So, in fact, they even trap Bad Boy Scout inside their walls, which helps quite a bit because you will be able to just double team it and finish it off.
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, yeah. I think I missed that game. But yeah, usually on this map it is very easy to team all. Like, so I can see why that would probably have taken them off guard or caught them off guard. But yeah, so we are seeing a 21 put man-at-arms build from Song Song. So, and we're also seeing, so they are going to try and break this wall right here. That should be possible, right? I mean,
yeah, especially
like, there's only one layer, right?
Especially considering these are Dark Age walls, so you only have 150 HP on them for quite a while. Second layer coming in just now for Gunji, I think they know exactly that the Saracen archers will be coming to break through.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to. It's so much economy to wall, like all of this double layer, right? Like house wall. Like, even then, is 2 palisades enough? Like that can be broken through pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, I feel like the bigger problem is that if you had like a standard radius setting, so to say, and you get pushed by archers, you can make a defensive tower to limit their movement a little bit. Defensive towers aren't really the option here, so if they get into your base, you are in a huge trouble. So this is a big gamble from RoR here.
Yeah. I actually, that's a really good point because if they do get feudal age and the opponents have gone in, like that doesn't help you, right? It doesn't really give you anything other than more HP on your walls. So they have to keep them out, and that has to be the goal in the next like few minutes. I'm not sure if I really like where they're attacking. Like obviously they don't know where to attack because they don't have perfect scouting, but like I think if you look at where Song Song is breaking that house, like it's very easy, even if they break through that, to just walk to the town center, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely one of the safer parts. Especially with Ganji having a back gold mine as well. That is good because he might lose 2 of his gold mines. And I think the main point here is that they have to delay this until at least like feudal, because that way they actually get the extra HP on the walls, and that's going to start helping a little bit. What I'm surprised about is Ganji's 26 Voyager FC here. Even with all this walling, I'm not so sure what Turks want to do, like straight up light cav maybe?
Yeah, he's not really built anything. He's under a lot of pressure, right? So he's not really built his building that will tell us what they're doing, like what he's doing. Like he could, I mean, you can theoretically buy a castle if you want to. You could also go for, okay, he's building the barracks now, so it's probably going to be some kind of stable unit. like you were saying. Yeah, I mean, these men arms haven't really done much, have they? I mean, I thought maybe they could do a little bit more, but they managed to wall up very, very well. Look at it,
Yeah.
more walls, more house walls at the back. They're never going in.
Yeah, RoR just loves this map here. Basically, in every game that they could just sit behind 10 layers of walls, they were good. Like the Forest Font or so. Modri actually went for 23 plus 2 FC, which is admirable with all this walling.
Yeah, man. I mean, Modri's in the team for a reason, I guess. Look at this, perfect, perfect pass caster time, like perfect walls, like even his lumber camp, man. Look at that lumber camp, amazing.
Yeah, that is a very, very good lumber camp. Now, the real question is how many monasteries will Modri go for? Because I would assume that he's going to open 3, but in some of the games they played, I think they went up to like 6 or 7.
Wow. Yeah, I think at this point he's probably not going to be able to do that many straight out of the gate just because of how many house walls he's needed to build. Well, I mean, despite there being this many walls, they're still doing a good job, you know. Like this isn't as easy as we were thinking. Like this is a lot of wood, and these archers should be able to range the walling villages now.
Yeah, this is where things could get scary a little bit, because those house foundations will go down to the archers really fast. Still, I think Modri is doing a very, very good job walling this one, and he's soon gonna be in Castle Age, which means that those stone wall tiles will have a lot more HP, and really, credits to RoR for being this good with the defense, not losing a single villager, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, but if they get in though, it spells really big trouble. I mean, he's gonna have to build a... Okay, he's building a siege workshop now. That makes some sense. Yeah, can you imagine though if instead of attacking like Ganji's house, like kind of uselessly, they went straight for this like kind of vulnerable choke point between 2 players? Like, do you think they would be able to like push this even further, and maybe even get in? Like,
it's hard. I feel like you could definitely do more damage like in between the players than close to Modri's base, I would say. But I think that now that Ganji is up, he could also start making scouts, because his light cap would be really helpful as well. Scorpion out, and oh boy, this is the troublesome part.
This could... Oh, this is... I think they're gonna break through though.
Yeah, like, if this was a Mangonel, I would be a lot more convinced at this, because the Scorpion does deal decent damage, but it's not like it's easily cleaning up that army, and they defended so well, and I think they actually got through the hardest part of the game. But this might be the moment when things fall apart.
Yeah, the problem is these are Saracen archers as well, right? Oh, okay. This is
boy.
Is disaster, yeah.
Oh, that feels so bad. I mean, they were so close.
They were so close, yeah.
And honestly, if that's a Mangonel, this could have been slightly different, because the Scorpion is just not doing enough damage. Like, Modri's not gonna give up on this, that's for sure, because he's like 20 villagers, but he can pick up a couple of relics with the monks to help a little bit, and it's the cider game, so they won't give up on this easily.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, I think if you look at it, man, he's on 20 vills. This is complete disaster. This is worst case scenario. I think, honestly...
he lost 8 vills.
Yeah, he was just a little bit greedy with that one final walls, right? He just decided to place palisades down instead of house foundations. And that's the difference between, like, losing all those villagers and not losing them, right? Because, like, those palisade foundations with no armor, they're just useless, right? They get killed immediately.
I feel like he maybe thought that his opponents would just be scared from the Scorpions and retreat, but that wasn't the case. They went all in. Now, the archers will be cleaned up here, but...
Yeah,
So, as you said, the eco for Vietnam is just much, much better. Both Vietnamese players will be up to Castle Age. I don't think it's completely over, but RoR definitely has an uphill battle ahead of them.
Yeah, so, I mean, what you can say is that, well, I mean, Modri's going all in anyway, so does he actually need the economy? Like, like, you know, the clowns need villagers? No, they don't. So these monks can still be really strong. Yeah, like even so, losing that many villagers will just mean a couple less monks, right? And that kind of monk push in the middle will be a little bit delayed and a little bit less strong, just generally.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest problem that they will be facing is that Modri having a weak eco means that he doesn't have that good number of monks, and that could be the deciding factor when it comes to dealing with Light Cav. And I like this combination quite a bit from Bad Boy and Song Song. They go for all those Saracen crossbows, which can open up walls anywhere, basically, so they can force fights as well. And the Light Cavs will be able to pick off monks from not the distance, but the light cap here could be a good decision. Although it's interesting that you get bloodlines in. You could make a case for no bloodlines here because, like, your main enemy here is the monks, so you don't want to, you know, give away light cap with bloodlines.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Like, you should probably do, like, maybe no bloodlines, husbandry, and blast furnace if you can, just so, like, if you do get your units converted, Bad Boy can just clean them up with his crossbows. Yeah, I think honestly this game is looking really difficult. Like the army of Mondri is just so slow and immobile that like you said, right? It's just like so much easier for Song Song and Bad Boy to pick a location, break in, and then RoR has to react, right? And like, they don't really have the best army to do that, really.
Yeah, no +2 defense on those knights. And one thing to point out on this map is because you don't have stone, you won't be able to build additional TCs easily, which means that losing those villagers hurts even more. Like, is compared to Arabia, but you don't want to throw away an army like that, though, if you're Vietnam.
Oh, this Mangonel could be huge.
That Mangonel could definitely be huge.
And Ganji's even repairing it as well. That's great teamwork right there.
And for an all-in play like this, you don't necessarily need an insane eco. So
yeah, exactly. All you need is you need a couple of snowballs, right? You need a couple of good fights where you just wipe, maybe 10, 15 crossbows, and then it starts to get really tricky, right? Because VNS will have to be on the back foot. But yeah, it's still difficult to see where that's going to come from because they're doing great. Look, like they've been pushed back on one side and then moving straight to the other weak spot, right?
And this is why I like Saracens for this map. You can buy your stone much easier, and that's a massive benefit. Having an extra TC over the opponent could be huge, just like the light cap jumping on monks.
Ooh. This Mangonel shot could also be huge though. Oh, I didn't shoot. Okay, never mind.
Oh man, that feels really bad, although the crossbows get surrounded by +1 defense knights, but I don't think that many knights is enough. And every moment that this game gets longer, it's better and better for Song Song and Bad Boy, because their eco is much better, and you have a second TC for the Saracen player.
Yeah, the problem with having such a fragile strategy is as we're seeing, right, like Modri lost 2 or 3 villagers, and that's just the difference between him being able to have a suitable economy to him having not much units, right, not much presence on the map.
Yeah, and now it looks like Ganji will be pushed away from his gold mine here. Modri has to go for a siege workshop here as well. Do you think that predictability is something that is a big weakness of this strategy with the Aztecs?
Yes, I think when you know it's coming, it's a little bit easier to deal with. But I honestly just think that it was literally just down to that one little bit of laziness. It was even laziness. It was just a bit of underestimating how bad it would be if those archers got into his wood line, right? Like, he just needed to have those house walls behind a little bit sooner. And if they don't get in, if they're just sitting there bashing houses, and you have a scorpion behind, and you take no damage, this game is completely different, right? But the problem is, Modri let those units in, and, he loses 3 villagers. He's already spent so much in walls, you just can't really recover economically, and it kind of snowballed from there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I totally agree with you on that. I feel like they probably felt that one Scorpion will scare away that army, but instead, Vietnam has committed. Maybe if that was a Mangonel, it could have been different, because...
Yeah, but you don't know if maybe Modri couldn't afford a Mangonel.
Yeah, that's totally
Ezekiel was under so much pressure, to wall and to do everything, right? It's kind of tricky to expect him to afford a Mangonel there.
I really like the Saracen Archers play here, though, because, as I said, one of the ways that you can counter early Monk's aggression is by having a decent amount of crossbows on the field. They break through the walls of the opponent once again. There's going to be redemption for Modri, but what is he going to do with it?
Yeah, I mean, redemption here, I mean, they're not even fighting siege at this point. Oh, there's a hole on the right side as well.
That is looking extremely rough. Mangonel misses the shot. And I feel like army numbers are much better for Vietnam. So is the eco, but the army is the big deal here. And unless we see one crazy Mangonel shot, this feels very rough for RoR, if not impossible.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a Mangonel shot may have been possible if he'd deleted at one of those points and got a real juicy connection, but it just didn't happen. And at this point, yeah, this game is thoroughly in the control of the Vietnamese team.
And with that, they would actually survive the elimination match, and they would go to the deciders. That would be interesting to see that, because their opponents would be AM or Heresy, And I think they lost to AM, so if Heresy beats AM, it would be a rematch. Modri will still try this, he's not gonna give up on this easily, but Modri's at 25 vultures at 28 minutes.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. That's
And also
less
it's
than a villager
24
every
idols, by the way. So
day. Yeah,
he's got one villager working somewhere, but very nice team coordination from Padway and Song Song, and they really seem determined in this tournament. Like, their preparation shows, their team chemistry shows, and I think they're a somewhat underrated team based on the performance that we have seen so far from them.
Yeah, I think they've been excellent and they're really good, right? On these kind of open maps as well, right? Like, I mean, obviously Socotra was on an open map, but the Eruption and the Arabia games were really dominant, right? Like, they were really impressive on those maps. So they're definitely not a team to be reckoned with. And yeah, the GG is cool.
Yeah, very nicely done by Bad Boy and Song Song. They avoid elimination and move into the decider game. Whereas for RoR, I think they still had a very, very nice run in this tournament. So they actually qualified. They had some very good games. I think the biggest deal for RoR in this tournament was in the qualifiers, though. Like, the way that they qualified was absolutely huge. They actually won 3-1 against Bacti and Kaposh, and I think to them that's already a huge achievement.
Yeah, exactly. They did a great job to qualify, beating a team that was much higher seeded than them, which is really impressive in its own right. And yeah, I mean, here it's kind of unfortunate how some of the games played out. Like this game, you know, kind of the difference, very fine margins sometimes, right? Like the difference between like house walling and not house walling and getting the walls down in time can be completely game changing. So I don't think they'll be too unhappy, but yeah, we definitely saw how strong this Vietnamese team is, especially on when they're playing aggressive, you know, synergetic, yeah, just not giving the team any space to breathe.
Yeah, very, very nicely done. And with that, Vietnam moves into the decider game.